Hello, welcome back everyone. Thank you for joining me once again. This is LiquorHound with you, and today we're actually going to be reviewing 8 craft gins. These are all going to be small batch creations. They're all going to be usually created in copper pot still, so it's going to allow a lot more flavor to be in the spirit. And we're going to go ahead and get through, taste all these for you, nose them for you, and at the very end I'm actually going to make you my very favorite cocktail that I love to make with Ransom Old Time Gin. You could probably make it with the others, just my favorite. So we're going to start here with the Botanist. This is actually from Brooklotic Distillery, 92 proof. The thing that I really found interesting about this one is that while they use 31 botanicals, 22 of them are indigenous to the island. It's actually on Islas, where it's from, and they use a 17-hour distillation. Bottle usually runs around $35–40. From there, we're going to move on to Junipero. It's actually by the Anchor Steam Brewery Company. They're running a little distillation there, and this is their gin. Bottled at 98.6 proof, again, San Francisco, California. And it's just a traditional kind of like a American gin style. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now we have another two from California. These are from Alameda, California. This is St.George Bontanavore, and then St.George Dry Rye Gin. They actually have a third one called Terroir, but I don't have that one, mainly because I think I read on the flavor profiles that one they were trying to go more for a forestry type flavor, a lot of pine needles, a lot of juniper, and I was just kind of like, I don't know about that one. I'll add it eventually, but not for this. Then from there, both of these are 90 proof. From there, we're actually going to go on to this Leopold's American Small Batch Gin, bottled at 80 proof. Move on to one coming out of Philadelphia. These are, oh, by the way, Denver, Colorado. This one's Philadelphia, and this is American dry gin called Blue Coat. This one's bottled at 94 proof. And then we're going to move on to a couple of very old style gins. One's going to be Old Tom style. This is Ransom's Old Tom Gin. Usually Old Tom's added a sweetener to the gin. This one does not, no sugar added. All the sweetness that comes through this one is going to be from the barrel. And that's the thing about these two. Look at the color on it. These are barrel aged, and that's just the way the old gins were. Back in the day when they were traveling from England, you know, maybe over here to the New World or whatever, they were being carried in barrels, so by the time it got here in 6 months, it had been in the barrel quite a while. And this is Bols Barrel Aged Giniver. 84 proof, 88 proof. This one's from Sheridan, Oregon. This one's actually from Amsterdam. So let's go ahead and get to the nosing. The Botanist. Got to dig down deep. Don't get too much as far as alcohol on the nose. A little juniper, cardamom, a little lemon, and a touch of orange. Not too much lime. Junipero. More juniper. Surprisingly, at 98.6, it's not too strong on the alcohol. And a fair amount of citrus. Mainly juniper, mainly citrus. I think both those will work in pretty much any cocktail you want to make, whether it be gin and tonics or martinis. St. George, the Bontanavore, known as the Botanical Eater, actually has 19 botanicals in it. A little malty, almost like a little dillweed, a little celery seed thing going on, to complement that mild to medium amount of juniper. Pretty interesting. I'm not sure how it's going to mix, but it does smell pretty nice. The Dry Rye from St. George as well. A lot more malt. You know, this being a rye, so it's probably going to add a little more spice to the thing, but definitely a fair amount more malt. Much more juniper. I think this one's supposed to have twice the amount of juniper, and I think it definitely shows up on the nose. A little cardamom, a little caraway seed. Very, very interesting on that one. Now, Leopold's American Small Batch Gin, bottled at 80 proof. The thing that makes this one unique is that they like to use Florida oranges and California pomelos in the blend of herbs. And This one I really have to dig to find any alcohol. It's very, very light. It's probably going to be a little juniper, a little citrus, but I think it's going to be the closest to a vodka type gin as you're ever going to find. It's very, very light. Blue coat. A ton of orange peel. And a little bit of juniper, very, very light botanicals. Mostly just that orange peel's right up front. Ransom Old Tom. Vanilla. Malt. The juniper is well represented. Cardamom is in the background. Fair amount of cardamom, but it's not overbearing the juniper or the vanilla or the malt. Now, he does like to use a corn and malted barley in the base, and this one's aged I think 3 to 6 months in the barrel. Pinot Noir barrels from California as well, because this is from actually, sorry, not California, Oregon Pinot Noir barrels, because this is from Sheridan, Oregon. Now the Bols barrel-aged juniper is actually 18 plus months in French Limousin oak barrels. So let's see what that smells like. They're actually using a rye, wheat, and corn base. A lot maltier. This one has, whereas this one was like vanilla and malt, so it's kind of more like a bourbon feel. This one, I mean, while you get the juniper and you get the citrus in the background, there's this earthy tone. It reminds me kind of like a mushroom, or I don't know, maybe a well-worn oak barrel type thing. And a little bit of that corn is coming through, so if you're thinking moonshine, that's what I'm getting there. Let's go ahead and get to the tasting, the botanist. Right up front, fair amount of juniper, 92 proof. The warmth actually comes on mid-palate. Fair amount of citrus. Just after that juniper comes in, kind of really relaxes. A little citrus shows up. Lemon, lime, hint of orange. Little caraway in the background. Very, very nice. Junipero. Since it's 98.6 proof, that heat actually does show up mid-palate. Comes on pretty strong, but then it really relaxes through the finish, so it never gets overpowering. Juniper, I would label that one as about a light to medium amount of juniper. And just a fair amount of citrus. You know, you can't really quite pick out if it's lemon lime. I think it's more lemon lime than orange in this one. And there's just a hint of ethanol in the background. Overall, very, very nice. I think both of these will work in martinis, that type of thing. St. George, the Bon Tenevore. Different flavor. A little vanilla, a little dillweed right up front to complement that juniper. It's almost like a pine needle juniper thing that's almost like making me think like dillweed. Fair amount of malt. Just a hint of, actually it's not a fair amount of malt, it's a light malt going on in the background. And a little celery seed. Very, very nice. Actually, as far as just drinking straight, I find that one very interesting, very nice. The heat never gets out of control, it's very, very tame. Now we're going to go to the dry rye by the same company, St. George. Supposed to have twice the amount of juniper. First taste, bang, that's what you're going to get. Double the amount of juniper as the previous bottling. Has a little mint going on just after that juniper. Almost like a eucalyptus. Little peppercorn, black pepper type thing. And then the citrus on the finish. Fair amount of malt. as a bourbon lover, you know, a whiskey lover, I find that one very, very interesting. That rye is adding a lot of cinnamon, especially that cinnamon showed up around mid-palate and it's lasting through the finish. Again, I think these two would work great as sippers. I'm not sure how they're going to mix. So I'd be careful if you're making martinis with these two. Might be a little too bold for those. Now, Leopold's American Small Batch Gin out of Denver, 80 proof. Super soft. Fair amount of juniper. A fair amount of, what is that? Hint of cardamom. A little orange peel. Now you could make a martini out of that one. Tom Collins would probably be great with that one, because it's giving you a little bit of citrus, but it's staying very far away from any amount of heat. You could sip it. I think that would be perfectly fine. It's not going to be as full flavored as these two, maybe not even as this one, but it's a very nice, straightforward gin. Now, Blue Coat. .94 proof. A ton of orange peel. And I'm not just talking the zest. I'm talking about orange peel, the little white pith underneath, so it's getting a little bitter. And the juniper. That's pretty much what you're getting. Orange peel, then the juniper. And that's about it on this one. It's unique. It probably worked well in a Manhattan. Maybe a Negroni. But I don't know about a martini. Anyway, Ransom Old Tom. It's great stuff. Comes on, it's so soft. Never gets hot. Full flavored. A lot of malt, a lot of vanilla, a lot of juniper. Caraway, cardamom in there in the background. And then, of course, there's a... what is that? Orange peel, maybe a little bit of lime zest in there as well, but they just all commingle perfectly. Fantastic gin. Again, I wouldn't exactly make a martini out of this one. I probably wouldn't mix this one with tonic water either, but if you're mixing cocktails, fantastic. Any cocktail that calls for bourbon, you could probably go with this Ransom Old Tom. Now, Bowles Barrel Aged Genevieve. It's got like a vanilla and oak thing coming up right away. Again, this is twice as long in the barrel. The juniper's in there. A little bit of, is that orange? A little orange in the background. But there is that mushroom type earthiness going on as well. Overall, very, very good gin. But my personal preference would be here. So now that we have those out of the way, I'm going to hurry up and try and mix this cocktail for you. Again, this is my favorite cocktail that I love to make with Ransom Old Tom Gin. And it is based on the Negroni. And if anybody knows, the Negroni is equal parts gin, Campari, and usually a sweet vermouth such as Via. You could use, here I have two others here, we're going to Punti Mes. You could also use Antica. Now that's the traditional, equal parts. But today what we're going to do is make an Americanized version. See, Campari is so bitter that when I mix it in a cocktail and I do the equal parts thing, half the people will enjoy it, half the people find it too strong, too bitter. So what I recommend to do, slide these out of the way, take your mixing glass, add in your ice, and we're going to do equal parts. Actually, let's do Campari first. We're going to do about a half part Campari. And then, here's the trick, Aperol, just a half part. This is more of an orange flavored liqueur. half part Aperol. It's a little sweeter than Campari. 1 part gin. And we're going to do 1 part sweet vermouth. In this place, my favorite, we're going to use Antica. Fantastic stuff. Now, if you use Antica, use the recipe I just called for. If you use the Punti Mess, then you need to back down on the Campari because the Punti Mess has a little more bitters to it naturally. So, now, that's the base ingredients. I like to add a little orange zest to my mix. Just 2 probably will do it. And it's just those oils that just blend in there really nice. You want to stir it, don't shake it. The shake it just, some people say it bruises the gin. All it really does is it adds a little more oxygen to it, clouds it up, takes it a long time to look good in the glass. And give it a good stir. Now, depending on the size of your ice cubes, that's going to make a huge difference. If they're small, they're going to dilute faster, so you don't need to stir it as much. If they're bigger like these, 20 to 30 rotations each way will be just fine. Now then, once we're done there, that's good. I like to serve mine straight up. Now you could do a big ice cube, such as, oh, let's see what we have here. Now, I'll show you the tray. The Rock, usually silicone trays, pretty good size cube. Doesn't dilute very fast. You could do that. Again, I like to just do mine straight up. Sometimes most of the time, I like to chill my glass. I didn't do it here. But for the same reason that I like to have a Sazerac, and they're served straight up, is that the spirit, the concoction will actually change as it warms up. Again, one little paper thin little peel. Just give the rim a little wipe, put that oil on there. I can already see the oils floating. Drop it in, and there you go. The Americanized Negroni, as I like to call it. Much more broad appeal, not nearly as bitter. Still has a lot of the reminiscent elements of the Negroni, but a little more palatable. You can do the same thing with bourbon. Sub the bourbon in for that gin. It's normally known when you do the equal parts thing as a Boulevardier, but you know, maybe we could call it, I don't know, the Dandy Man for more of an Americanized version. But that's it for today. Thank you for joining me once again. Like I say, everybody keep leaving those great comments, and cheers.